When I brought him home, people said I'd lost my mind. Maybe they were right. But what he gave me in return, that's something they'll never forget. They still come to my yard on quiet evenings, the old men with voices like rusted gates, the young ones with eyes too busy for stories. They sit on my cracked bench under the fig tree and ask me the same question, as if the answer might change with the seasons. Juma, they say, why did you do it? Why did you risk your land, your name, your peace for that creature? I tell them this, sometimes you don't choose what saves you. Sometimes it finds you, alone, shivering in the rain, waiting to see who will dare step closer. My name is Juma. I am 57 rains old now. My bones wake before the dawn and ache long after sunset. I have buried a wife and watched a son pack his life into a city bus and vanish down the red dirt road, promising to return with wealth enough to make my back bend no more. He writes sometimes, he calls when he can, but his voice drifts in with the static, smelling of glass buildings and iron rails. A city so far from this place it might as well be the moon. Here, the ground is cracked like old pottery, the sky wide enough to swallow a man's grief and forget it. Our village, Makuni, is a clutch of mud huts and clay stoves, tucked at the very edge of a forest so dense the elders say it breathes secrets into your dreams. At night, when the oil lamps flicker out, you can almost hear the leaves whispering each other's names. I have lived here all my life. I know every goat path and hidden spring. I know which roots make medicine and which roots bury your tongue in sleep you don't wake from. When Asha died, people came with pots of rice and plates of cassava to fill my stomach and hush my grief. But when they left, the silence crawled back inside, curling around my ribs like a snake. It was late in the rainy season when Tembo found me. Or maybe I found him. The sky that day had been swollen and mean, the kind of gray that makes the birds hide in the sugarcane. I had gone to check the snare lines, a habit I had never broken, though most days they caught nothing but leaves and mud. That night, the rain came all at once, warm and heavy, drumming on my hat and the woven basket at my hip. I was ready to turn back when I heard it. A sound that did not belong to the storm, not the cough of a leopard or the bark of a baboon. It was softer, almost human, a low moan that made my skin prickle under my soaked shirt. I pushed through the brush, lantern swinging in my fist. The trees bent in the wind, branches scratching my face like claws. I slipped once, landed hard in the mud, and nearly turned back. But then it came again, a lonely trumpet, choked and broken. When I stepped into the clearing, the lantern's light caught on grey skin slick with rain. I froze where I stood, an elephant, massive even in death. The mother lay on her side, her ears half buried in the muck, her great belly split where the poachers had taken what they came for. Beside her, pressed so close he might have been her shadow, was the calf. He looked at me the way a child looks at the dark, wide-eyed, ears twitching, knees trembling. He did not run. He did not even blink. I stepped closer, careful not to sink deeper into the sodden ground. My coat was already drenched through, but I slipped it from my shoulders and laid it over his back like a promise. "Easy now," I said, my voice so soft I wondered if he heard me over the rain. "Easy, little one." He flinched when my hand touched his ear, rough skin, warm beneath the chill. He made no sound when I pressed my forehead to his, whispering nonsense. Maybe he understood. Maybe he didn't care. It took hours to coax him home. Each step was a battle, roots snagging my ankles, mud swallowing my feet, the calf stumbling behind me like a ghost still learning how to wear its own bones. More than once I stopped and thought, "Leave him here, Juma. Let the forest have him. What do you think you can do for him that nature cannot?" But every time I turned to go, I felt his breath against my hip, warm and soft, a question I could not answer. When dawn cracked open, we came out of the trees together, two silhouettes against the first pale blush of the sun. I tied him to the old mango tree behind my hut. He sank to his knees, trunk curled under him like a sleeping child. I named him Tembo. Simple, strong, the only word that fit. The village woke slowly, as it always did. Smoke rose from clay stoves. Roosters crowed to one another across yards divided by thorn fences and old feuds. I could feel eyes on me before I even drew water from the well. Eyes behind door frames, behind murmured greetings that came too late. At first, it was only curiosity. Children tiptoed to my fence, peering through the sticks to catch a glimpse of the orphan tied to my mango tree. His ears flicked when they giggled. He reached for them with his trunk, curious too. But then the gossip arrived, like mold on wet thatch. I heard it at the market first. Two women at the tomato stall, their heads bent close. "He feeds it with his own grain. What will he eat when the rains are gone? He's calling misfortune to his door, that old fool." By the second week, the chief came to stand in my yard, hands clasped behind his back like a father scolding a stubborn child. "Juma," he said, his voice slow and measured, "this animal will grow. It will eat your food, your neighbor's food. It will trample your fields. It will bring ruin." I looked past him at Tembo, who was tugging at a branch I'd cut for him, ears flapping like a drum. "Chief," I said, "he has no one." The chief's eyes narrowed, his mouth pressed thin. "And when he grows too big for your yard, what then?" I said nothing, because I didn't know. The months passed. The rains gave way to heat that cracked the ground open like old bread. Tembo's appetite grew with the sun. I traded goats for millet, sold my spare plow to buy sacks of sugarcane. Neighbors patched their fences tighter, muttering that I had invited ruin to our door. But not everyone turned their back. My grandson Quito, all elbows and wild curls, came every day after school, barefoot and dusty, his school shirt untucked. He would slip behind my hut with pockets full of guavas stolen from his mother's garden. "Tembo," he'd call, giggling as the calf's trunk curled around his wrist, sniffing for treats. Sometimes I watched from the doorway, heart tight in my chest at the sight of my wife's mischief reborn in that boy. One evening, after the sun dropped behind the forest and the air filled with the hum of insects, Quito sat cross-legged in the yard, his back pressed to Tembo's side. "Babu," he asked me, voice soft and sleepy, "will he stay forever?" I raked ash from the stove, watching sparks float up into the dark. "Nothing stays forever, Quito. Not people, not even elephants." He frowned, scratching Tembo's ear. "Then I hope I go wherever he goes." I opened my mouth to answer, but the words never came. Instead, I just watched them. The boy and the calf. Two orphans tangled together under a sky wide enough to lose them both. When the drought came, it cracked open our fear. The river shrank to a muddy ribbon. Maize shriveled in the fields. Cows bellowed in yards that smelled of dust and desperation. And still, Tembo ate. He was bigger now, too big to hide behind my fence. His footsteps left round holes in my garden beds. The villagers came again. This time they brought the chief and 3 elders. They stood at my gate at dusk, when the air was soft and forgiving. But their faces were not. "Juma," the chief said, "sell him to the zoo in the city. They will take him, or drive him back into the forest. He does not belong here." I looked at their feet, dusty, cracked, pressed into the same earth I had tended all my life. "He belongs with me," I said. The chief shook his head, his beads clicking against his collarbone. "You are old. When he grows too strong, who will hold the rope? Who will fix what he breaks?" I wanted to say, "me," but the word would not come. And then the sky broke again, not with gentle rain this time, but with wind that howled like a jackal, tearing at the thatch, bending the old fig tree until its branches scraped the mud. Thunder cracked open the night and poured its fury onto our roofs. The river, starved for months, rose up roaring, greedy for everything we thought was ours. When the water came, it did not come politely. It swallowed yards, fences, goats tethered too tight to flee. I woke to Kito's voice, shrill and terrified. "Babu, the water, it's coming inside!" I stumbled into the yard, knee-deep already in swirling mud. Tembo stood by the mango tree, rope tight around his neck, eyes wide but calm, the only calm thing left in the world. I don't remember untying him. I only remember his skin against my palm, the warmth of him in the storm. Kito clung to my leg, crying. I lifted him onto Tembo's back, shouted to hold tight, hold tight. The water pushed at my hips, tugged at my knees, but Tembo stepped forward, sure and heavy, the only solid thing in the flood. We crossed the yard, we crossed the road, we pulled neighbors from roofs, children from trees. Tembo carried them one by one to the high ground by the old fig, each step planting hope in the black water. When dawn broke, the river shrank back, grumbling, and left us standing on the only dry hill for miles. The calf who was no longer a calf, the boy who dreamed of forever, and the old man who had once been called a fool. They do not call me fool now. When the people came, they brought sugarcane and marigolds, bowls of sweet rice to scatter at Tembo's feet. Children climbed his back and squealed when his ears flapped wide to catch the morning sun. They ask me now, "Why did you do it, Juma?" I tell them this. They called him a curse. I called him family. In the end, we were both right. And when I sit under the fig tree, listening to the forest breathe secrets into the dusk, I remember that sometimes the wildest things we hold close are the only things that save us in the end.